So you promised some changes. Obviously, you had some. How do you think those? Like, for instance, we'll start with Jair. What did you think of?
I don't remember promising anything.
Well, okay, you strongly hinted. Nonetheless,
Yeah.
Jair was matched quite a bit against a pretty damn good rookie and
Yeah.
won that. How do you think that turned out for you?
Good. I mean, he was. I think he is 17. Last week is. I thought he's a up and coming really good player, and specifically with Ja, I thought Ja played outstanding last week. I think he's fully capable of that every week, and he was really in a good place.
Joe, I could be completely wrong on this, but I don't remember you using dime until you used it the other day, I think, for a handful of snaps. Did you like what?
No, it had been, we had used it, yeah. But yeah, it's just, I think every week is is unique in itself. I've talked to you guys about that before. Whether it's a style of offense that you're playing or a specific player that you're playing against, but we like to have multiple personnel groups. So, and if we can deploy that, we're going to do it. So it's nice to be able to have as I told you, a guy like Rudy Ford, that can wear different hats for us. So it's been great.
The changes that you did make, were you pleased with moving Ja and less soft coverage, more man at the line of scrimmage? Were you pleased enough with the results to continue that going forward?
Sure, I mean, I think especially in the passing game, especially, whatever they didn't have 100 yards passing, and third down they were 9% on third down. So, yeah, I mean, I was very pleased with those results last week. So, but I think I feel confident whatever personnel we put out there, whatever 11 we put out there, whether it's base, nickel, dime, it doesn't matter. I feel good about that group of men that are going to go out in the field and execute that specific play in that situation.
Joe, Heinicke ran around on you guys a good bit last year. What's the challenge of facing him?
Yeah, same thing. I got a ton of respect for that kid. I think he's a when I was at the, I gotta use my words here because I almost say the when I was at the Commanders, okay, when I was coaching there in my past, I had heard about that kid coming up through the ranks, and he's just one of those guys that whether it was when he was in high school or when he was at ODU, even when he bounced around the league when he was at the Vikings, and then came to Washington. He's just always been one of those guys that no matter where he's been at whatever level, the guy just makes plays, and I think he's an incredible competitor that no matter when he gets his chance, no matter how he gets it, he seems that he always takes advantage of it. So he has our full attention. There's no doubt about it, especially with the way that he came in and played last year. So I got a ton of respect for him.
Hey Joe, keeping your old Commander's hat on, we were talking with Preston today. This is actually his first trip back to FedEx since.
Yeah, we were talking about that.
Yeah, can you just go back? When you guys first drafted him,
Yeah.
What did you like most about him, and what stood out to you about him as a prospect?
Well, I think, you guys all see Preston every single day, and just his, he's just, he's what an outside rusher, a defensive end is supposed to look like. He's got all the attributes in as far as the length, the size, but then he has the athleticism, he has the change of direction. He had all that coming out. So, and obviously he's improved on all those things, being the veteran that he is now. But I look at Preston when he came out. He was really the complete package. He had everything that you wanted and it really didn't matter what system. He was a guy. Sometimes, at least in the evaluation process for us, guys get stamped as, oh, he's a 4-3 left end, or he's a 3-4 outside backer. Preston was one of those guys that he had the size, he had the speed, he had the athleticism. He really could fit into any system, no matter who drafted him. So. He was a special prospect coming out.
Getting back to the dime for a second, do you Are you making the decision on that extra guy based on wanting, say, a third safety versus a fourth corner, or is it just Rudy's our sixth best guy, so that's the guy I'm putting in?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna, I won't get into it here, but I mean, we have multiple different personnel groups that we can use. And, you know, I think the first thing that you always have to look at, again, based on the scheme that you're playing, based on the situation, based on the down and distance when you want to deploy different personnel groups, you know, you have to have, first and foremost, you have to decide, okay, what 11 guys do we want on the field? And it makes our job easier when you have, you know, when you have a stable of, you know, say 13, 14, 15 guys that you really feel good about being able to play. You can go into multiple different personnel groups, whether that be, you know, 3 inside linebackers on the field with 5 DBs, or 2 inside linebackers on the field with 6 DBs, vice versa. But having Rudy as a third safety that we really feel good about, that gives us some options to be able to do things like that. So, you know, we did the same thing with Keyshawn. You know, with Keyshawn being a fourth corner that we really feel good about, you know, we have packages where we can deploy that as well. So, I think I'm answering with what you're saying, but first and foremost, you got to feel good about the guys that you throw out on the field, and when you have that, it kind of gives us options.
You guys were pretty dominant until the very end. How gassed were they at the end, and do you just simply need to get more from the offense to have complementary football in that situation?
Well, you know, we got to do our job first and foremost, and that's playing 60 minutes of football, and we really did. I was driving home after the game with my wife, and I mean, I honestly don't know if I've ever been a part of, you know, a game where 8 series of the game were, you know, as dominant as they were, and just, you know, things happen. But that's NFL football. That happens every single week with every single team, and you have to play a 60-minute football game. And, you know, not by any means that I think our guys ever relaxed or our you know, their guard went down. I'm not saying that at all. I mean, I thought our guys, the mindset and demeanor that they had the whole game, we just let a couple plays get away from us, and unfortunately, it really hurt us. But I didn't feel at all that they were, you know, gassed or tired or anything like that. It was just, you know, a couple bad luck things that happened to us, and it was a little bit of a landslide. But man, I thought our guys, even with that being said, I thought, you know, I always try to give you the vibe of us, and why I love this group so much is that they came in, and I mean, we had a phenomenal Wednesday yesterday, had a great Thursday today, so they bounced back. But it was a bummer that things happened the way they did, especially with the way we played early.
So Joe, you don't think there's any trend line there, like you guys were awesome against the Bears, and then they ran it pretty well late. You guys were really good against the Patriots, then they kind of ran it pretty well late, and then obviously the Jets. So you don't think that there's any common denominator there of them just having to play so much, or any? You don't think there's any through line with those three?
Yeah, but I mean, I think I know what you're asking and saying. But we can't control that. You know, we got to control what we can control, and whether we play 40 plays or we play 80 plays, our job is to go out and, you know, slam the door, and we have to slam the door. And that means that, you know, we played 8 series of football that were absolutely dominant, and then we, you know, we let them off the hook a little bit for 2 series, and then I was really proud of our guys in that Jet game. You know, we had 8 plays inside the 5-yard line there at the end, and I reached out to them all late Sunday night because I think that was pretty impressive. It was you know, the game was pretty much over at that point, but for our guys to play the way they did, and to battle the way they did, and to keep them out of the end zone when, you know, we got a couple bad luck penalties, and they just kept fighting and scratching, and really, you know, ended the game at least the way we started the game for the first 8 series of the game. But, you said trend lines, things like that. I try not to buy into those things. We just gotta. NFL football games are a grind. It is a 4-hour battle, and they're going to make adjustments. They're going to make plays, but we have to even in a situation where we're playing really good for a long period of time, we have to continue that and can't let people off the hook. And I don't think there's anything really to read into or a trend that's happening. We just got to make sure that we talk about all the time defensively, make them earn every blade of grass they get, and we have to do that for 60 minutes.
So is that group text that you reach out to all the guys? Do you have like?
Well, I did. I actually sent the 11 men that were on the field for those 8 plays. I reached out to them and just told them that, I think our whole group is our studs, but those 11 guys that accomplished that, with the way the game had just unfortunately went, the 15 minutes of play before that, I was proud of them that they battled the way they did. To me, that showed a lot of the character of that group.
With their run game, they got the big rookie running back.
Robertson.
Yep.
Yeah.
They got Gibson, who's a perimeter guy, and they got the receiving back.
Yeah.
Is it just as easy as that? Is you're the defensive play caller, you say you see who's out there and you can prepare for this, or are they
Sure.
versatile enough that they can kind of do everything regardless of who's in there?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, because when you do have a group of backs like they have, they do a great job of using all 3 of them, but all 3 of them are pretty unique. And Robinson's always obviously the big physical back. Gibson is proven to be a really good NFL running back, even though he was a former wide receiver in college. And then McKissick, even though he'd probably be looked at as the receiving running back, but he's a pretty darn good running back too when they just turn and hand the ball off to him. So all 3 of those guys, I think, obviously Gibson and McKissick have kind of been the 2 guys the last couple of years, but with them drafting Brian and him getting healthy, now they add a 3rd element to it. So of course that factors into the way you look at what personnel's on the field and what you're going to deploy to stop it.
Joe, Quay Walker going through right now. You could see the first few games he's playing with his hair on fire. Our team's kind of taking advantage of that a little bit, knowing that he's going to bite on some things.
I don't know if they're really individually taking advantage of him. I think Quay is just there's with all rookies that really get thrown into the fire early, and we made obviously, I don't want to say the second we drafted Quay, but after he'd been here for about 10 practices, we made the decision, hey, this is our guy and he's going to be on the field all the time. Rookies are going to have good days, they're going to have bad days. They're going to have good ebbs and flows of the game. They're going to be up and down. I think that just kind of comes with the territory of being a rookie. And I know one thing: he's got a very bright future. He's a heck of a player. I think he's playing really good ball. Now, has he had a moment here or there? But I mean, so have I. I've told you guys, there's some calls I wish I had back, but. I think where Quay is right now and what he's doing on a daily basis, I'm really happy with the kid. He's a special kid, special player.
Hey, Joe, going back real quick to last week, Rob and I were talking to Ja after the group kind of dispersed on Friday, and he was really complimentary about how you listened to him, and I don't know who the other guys were that came and talked to you, though, about kind of what they were thinking and wanting to do. I'm sure there are coaches, maybe you worked with some, maybe you just know some that, no, we're doing it my way, this is what we do here. What was kind of your philosophy as you listened to those guys and they gave their thoughts to you?
Well, I mean, every individual has their own belief and philosophy. Of course, I have my beliefs. I have the way I've come up in the coaching ranks. But I'm a firm believer that it can't just be a one-way street. I've never believed in that. Now, obviously, me as the coordinator, it starts with my voice and my vision, but I'm a firm believer that I have a phenomenal coaching staff with Jerry Gray, Jerry Montgomery, Kirk Alvadati, Ryan Downard, Jason Rebovich. I listen to them. You know, we have a very open relationship when it comes to game planning. We're going to put things together, and I think the number one attribute you have to do when you're the leader is you do have to listen. And I'm a firm believer that it's maybe equally as important as listening to your staff. You got to listen to your players, and I'll state it very, very strong that I think you earn that right as a player. You know, the more you play, the more veteran you are, and I do listen to those guys. You know, now just because they ask for something or suggest something doesn't mean, oh yeah, okay, we'll do it. But I definitely think that you have to listen, and those guys, the Adrian Amoses, the Jair Alexanders, the Preston Smiths, the Kenny Clarks. Not all those guys are boisterous all the time, but when they do have a suggestion or an idea, I think you're just foolish as a coach. Those are the guys that are out on the field doing it. They're experiencing it. I'm seeing it, but they're actually doing it. I think it's foolish not to listen to those guys. So I think we have I guess the best thing, what I'm saying, we have a very open relationship, and we talk about things all the time. Coach to coach, player to coach, you know, coach to player. I think that's the only way that I know how to operate is to listen and discuss things. So, and those guys are always great with suggestions or ideas or, and even when it's a situation where they might say something and be like, guys, let's not do that. Let's just stay with what we're doing. They're great, but a high percentage of the time, those guys have great ideas, and I think it's important to listen to them.